time on the Community Voice, Haralson County Marshal Drew Fowler. Gentlemen, thank you for coming out this morning. And I'm glad we brought Drew, because Drew, I had a couple news stories with Drew on, and very detailed, but in a 3-minute newscast, I can't get all the information in there that I like. So we'll talk about a couple of ordinances that you had drawn up. First of all, what is the role of Marshal for Haralson County? Is it a different role than other counties? I see Tallapoosa after, and I don't know if they did it after because you had kind of brought some things up. I saw they're looking for a marshal now, the city of Tallapoosa. But what is the Marshal of Haralson County? What's he do?
So the Marshal of Haralson County, and I'm going to be honest with you, until I took the position, I didn't even know that Haralson County had a marshal. But essentially, the Marshal's main job is to enforce the county ordinances, which is our local laws. The county marshal also helps with magistrate court, property issues, things like that. But we're more of a locality. Now, the marshal's office, we're sworn, mandated law enforcement officers. We have all of our arrest powers, but we're more focused towards kind of keeping the community clean and safe in a different kind of aspect.
Yeah, is it that? Do you have a department? Do you have 3 or 4 people with you?
Yeah, so total for my whole entire department, I have some code enforcement officers, and hopefully we're working towards getting them sworn. That's a big thing we're doing to improve. Not only help me out a little bit too, but improve the quality of service for Haralson County. I mean, Haralson County is, it's like we were talking about before, 254 square miles. That's a lot of county to cover. So we're looking to getting them being sworn law enforcement, which benefits them a lot of ways too. But there is a couple of code enforcement officers kind of in the mix there as well. So
could you help the Haralson County Sheriff's Office? I mean, if there's a situation they needed an extra body?
Oh yeah, for sure, especially early on. The Haralson Sheriff's Office is, they've been a great asset. They helped me out, kind of getting me situated when I first came in. They've given me some equipment, some other things that I wouldn't otherwise have. I feel like we have a pretty good working relationship with the Sheriff Stacy Williams. His chief deputy over there is great too. So I've got a big. They do a lot of good things. I have a lot of respect for them. So yeah, we do work hand in hand on some things.
Now that might be all we get to hear from Drew for the next 20 minutes, but I'm glad we get to introduce you anyway.
Yeah.
And again, I am excited to talk about those 2 ordinances. Brian Walker, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
All right,
good to be here.
First 6 months in office, how would you rate that? I mean, as far as maybe the learning experience, the good, the bad.
Yeah, it's a learning experience. I mean, you come in and you start trying to learn things. Being in my background's public safety, but I've been around county government for 21 years in Haralson, and but you still don't know all of the pieces of the puzzle when you're just focused on one of the pieces when being in fire EMA. And but it's been good. I'm still learning. I'm learning just like anything that comes up. My number one job, people call and I'll get them an answer. And I either go back to the state laws or go back to our ordinances to see what it is to get the answers. That's your foundation of where you get your answers. And it's just not saying, yeah, we don't do that. But I turn to my department heads. Department heads is who we have in place to run each piece of the puzzle, and that's their job to know it. So my number one job is, if whatever comes to me, I've learned in the first 6 months, is I'm going to turn to them and say, hey, this question's been asked, or can you get the answer?
As former Haralson County Fire Chief, I mean, you did mess with the budget there, smaller budget, now a bigger budget you're dealing with as the Haralson County Chairman. On July the 1st, there was an attempt to pass the budget for the coming whole year, but then you guys said, you know what, let's wait 2 weeks. What was the purpose of that?
There was a couple things that come up, and our number one job is myself and presenting budgets to the Board of Commissioners. It's for all of us to be very transparent and knowing exactly what's going on.
Is there a chance that the budget may decrease, or is maybe some things that need to be added?
There was a few numbers that we were looking in at just to make sure they're right, because our number one job is to have bring in a zero balance budget, and that's our main job, and to make sure and really make sure we got a good budget foundation. So yes, there's always going to be unexpecteds throughout the year. You never know when the storm's going to come in. This past year, we've had 2 or 3 storms come through and wiped out two bridges, through the storms, but but you help be prepared when stuff like that happens. And that's things, we're just trying to make sure. And two, you set that budget to a good working budget that is reasonable. And, we're somewhere, last year's budget was around 22.7. And this year's budget is around 24.
24, yeah.
And
is there just one budget for Haralson County? Is there a general budget and
yeah, you got the general fund budget. Then you got your special service, 3 special services.
But they pay for themselves. There's other
yeah,
budgets?
well, this paid through either a millage rate or revenue.
Right, yeah.
So
okay. And speaking of the millage rate, we'll crawl into that. The assessments has been a big deal in Haralson County. And it's a big deal everywhere, every year, but significantly this year, the assessments, people are complaining. They're suggesting that their assessments have gone up significantly, maybe more than 100% on some things.
Yeah, coming into office, I've learned a lot about this. I've learned, majority of every one of these assessments had to, they're just not done overnight. They've been working on them, the assessor's office, since 2024 and coming in. And so they've been trying to see where things needed to be caught up. But my understanding, this was a whole countywide assessment. But the thing is, it's about the value of properties. And the assessors board, they get all of their regulations, everything through the Georgia Department of Labor and or revenues, correct? Georgia Department of Revenues, and they set all the guidelines there. I have spent some time on the phone with the Georgia Department of Revenue. Got very educated, but they do set all the guidelines statewide, and they tell me this is going on statewide on reassessments, and there's a lot of people. They tell me there's a lot of people moving to Georgia. And we're experiencing that in Haralson County. We watched a farm. I watched a farm go to public auction 3 or 4 weeks ago. Been there my whole life. I'm a lifelong native of Haralson County, and this farm been there, and some of the tracts that is divided up into 18 tracts, I think, but the whole 254 acres sold for $2.7 million. What I was told.
Are they going to maintain? They're going to maintain a farm there.
No, it was sold in 18 different tracts. My understanding, and it was anywhere from 7-acre tracts to, up to 18, 40. I don't know.
I mean, you're a farmer too.
Yeah,
it's got to bum you out a little bit. I mean, just to think.
Being a cattle farmer and raising chickens for pilgrims and being in the chicken industry, I'm new to that, but been cattle farming with my dad for a long time, and I took over all of it when he passed in 2011. But yeah, when you start seeing this farmland, because Haralson County, out of all the unincorporated, it's 88% of it is agriculture, and so being agriculture with our ordinances set up, majority of the land, I mean, when people come in, just like that tract there, it's 18 different tracts and the different amounts of acreage. It's set up for a house per 5 acres plus in agricultural land. And that's one, and the citizens of Haralson County love Haralson County because it's still, you're not touching your neighbor's window from your house. And I think that's what makes us attractive to a lot of people, and a lot of people are moving in from out and to experience that. They're coming from very high density cities and counties from wherever they're coming from.
Now, I know you've had ample opportunity to talk about the assessments, what they actually mean at this point. We've talked about it plenty on this show. I mean, you guys have done it at your meetings. I'm sure people have called you. Now, the bill that people in Haralson County got at this point, what do those numbers mean?
Well, as far as the dollar numbers don't mean anything. Millage rates have not been set, but because you got to have a digest before you can set a millage rate. And I can assure the them numbers were set to cause of values have gone up, and that's not and it's not set. So your millage rates are always, if your values go up, your millage rates come down.
Should come down.
Yeah, they will.
Right. I mean, for every place. I mean,
yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. It's
you're
supposed to come down.
It's going to,
and you'll see.
A lot of money.
Because our budget, like I said, when you think about right at 23 million to 24 million, it's not. When you look at the dollar figure, and we can't give that dollar figure per parcel yet because you don't have the correct digest yet.
So from the millage rate, what you guys want to do, millage rate based on the tax digest, you want to be able to generate $23.5 or $24 million to cover the budgets.
Yeah, and that 8.30 people are seeing is not it. It's what it was last year because the digest was lower last year. So that's what it is. The digest was lower last year, and so as that digest comes up, that means the millage rate will come down.
And it is important to separate the millage rate that will be set by Haralson County government and the one that will be set by the schools.
Yeah, we're totally two different entities, so it's all separate.
Is there a reason? It does seem like the assessments this year, like they did, go up dramatically, more so than last year or the year before. And I'll set a scenario for you. I think within the last decade, a similar thing happened to Carroll County. It was because Carroll County didn't do something right over a period of time as far as the assessments. They may not have followed the rules like we were talking about that come down from the Department of Revenue. And then Marty Smith, he was a chairman at the time, and I believe county had to pay a penalty, and then for maybe 2-3 years saw the assessments go up dramatically, but it was making up for something they didn't do before. Is there potentially something like that that's happened for Haralson County?
So I don't know none of got into the back history yet, but as far as I know, so what that is, they talk about, and the Department of Revenue shared this with me when I spent some time with them and trying to educate myself on a lot of this, was that they've got it set where you hit a 38 to 42 percentile, and then when you hit that, but my understanding, if you start hitting lower than that, you are subject to a $5 per parcel penalty if you don't hit the certain percentages. That's come from the Georgia Department of Revenue, and that's what you strive to do. And that's all state. They said it's all state law and constitutional and everything. And so
I got a lot of stuff to ask you, Brian. We're going to try and we'll give you about 6 more minutes in the next segment, and then we'll talk to Drew about some ordinances. Time right now is 8:44. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health and Oak Mountain Academy.
Consider the Mobius strip. Take a strip of paper, twist it, connect the ends. This connection forms a continuous loop. Seamless, infinite. That's how your healthcare should be too. At Tanner Health, the Mobius is our symbol and our promise, representing our continuum of care and our commitment that the services you need will be here for you always. We're not just changing healthcare, we're redefining it. See more at tanner.org.
Oak Mountain Academy specializes in a customized designed academic approach tailored to meet the needs of our families. Our lower division prepares students with the necessary foundation to build excellence. Our middle division provides students with over 15 course offerings, providing them with opportunities to explore their talents and gifts. Our upper division provides personalized academic journeys, allowing them to achieve their dreams. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to journey with us. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us, where every path leads to purpose.
$8:44. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice. My name's Colin Worthington. With me this morning from Haralson County, we've got the chairman, Brian Walker, and County Marshal, Drew Fowler. We're going to get with Drew here shortly. Want to give at least 6 or 7 minutes here to Brian. A lot of talk about data centers in West Georgia. There's been discussion of one in Villa Rica, and a lot of people are not excited about it. What is the take? What's Haralson County's take on data centers? Would you guys be open to having them there?
So, since January, come on, the number one goal is, Haralson County, the people, I call the government the people. We own about 1,600 acres of land now for industrial. We can put industrial there. And, and the thing it brings down I call rooftop home taxes is industry. And but you want to put a lot of time into making sure the right industry comes. And what is the right industry? Well, probably a lot of different opinions of that, but you want some safe industry that you don't want a lot of pollution. You don't want to, different things. You want to look at it. So, data centers are something that everybody's hearing and talking about and throughout the state.
I think, the state. I think
I mean,
Georgia's one of the biggest targets for
Georgia's
that. Right?
Yeah, and so I can tell you our board, the board of commissioners, and all the team players that is part of industry. I mean, you got to consider your power, your water, your environmental, your everything, and we're all team players into this. And I can tell you that a few weeks ago, all the team players, we did travel to Birmingham to visit a data center. We learned a lot of good information that one thing you hear, they use a lot of water. Well, this one didn't. I mean, it was a recircular type system.
Okay.
And
how about power?
Power was, we learned, I can't really talk much in the power because it's a whole different ball game. But everybody was pretty peaceful when we left there on what we saw on this data center. It was really unique. And basically all it is a big building with a bunch of computers in it. Give an example of what I learned from it was everybody can relate to Amazon because everybody millions of people gets on that app every day and they order something. And basically when that order goes in, it goes into a data center, into a computer that ends up at somebody's screen to fulfill that order. And that was sort of my take on how this whole thing works. Whether if it's a company that needs to house a lot of data, if it's a company, it's just like Facebook. They have data centers because all of the technology that goes into it. And so that's what a data center is. But all of your team players just got to have their entity in any industry. I'm talking about it. Don't matter whether data center or any industry. And but that's what our goal is. Our number one goal, my number one goal, is make sure we're very transparent with knowing what a company is to bring to Haralson County, and we will study it real hard, and we want to because we do want to bring in revenues for the county. Because when you bring in industry, my number one job and goal and our board is to lower our rooftop taxes.
And something like that it does produce a lot of tax money. It's not a lot of jobs. It may just be a handful of jobs, but you're not bringing in people either, kids for school.
It's according to how you look at it. We learned a little bit. I mean, data centers uses a lot of resources in your community for supplies and building, security.
Indirectly additional jobs. Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of different, and they brought that to the table that they use a lot of outside, like in your community, small businesses to help support them. And some of the ones that, you could see up to, when they look at the big picture, they say it could produce up to 2,400 jobs because you're using the outside sources. They're not really directly employees there, but when you start looking at supply and demand and different things they do to run that type of, that's what was explained.
Is there an ordinance that data centers fall under in Haralson County, or is it just?
We are. We are looking at several different ordinances and we hadn't made like I said, this is a total us just getting knowledge, making sure. But I've seen a lot of positive stuff on this. It's not a big water user on. It's not what I saw. It's not a big. Electricity. That has to come from our power companies. That's totally. I wouldn't even want to start to talk because but I can tell you the whole team that went was very pleased. Well, it was, I would say most of the information was opposite of what we've been hearing. And but we will. I mean, like I said, I've lived in Haralson County pretty much my whole life, and people want to stay looking, seeing what they see, and they want to, and I do too. And so you bring in, but we got to bring some industry in to help offset our property taxes, and that's the only way it's going to do it. Bunch of rooftops ain't the way to do it. Like tons of rooftops, but you got to mix them in. But if you bring in some good industry, then we do have land for that, and that's what we're looking for. And welcome anyone to call and talk to the Development Authority. They're a big part of this too, doing a great job, and we're just working hand in hand with all the team members.
All right, before we get to our final break here, let me throw this one out to you. You got that landfill property, the property that was supposed to be, or potentially was going to be a landfill.
Yeah,
big bunch of property there. Has there been any interest from a data company to talk about that?
At this time, no, not yet.
Have you had conversations with anybody interested in that property? Because I know I think the Development Authority now kind of has.
When I first come into office, there was some interest on some things going on, and it's kind of it went to idle. So right now there's no end user for the property at all right this second. But that our job is to find something, because that's what will help. I mean, we got 1,600 acres there. We need to put something good on to help bring taxes to Haralson County.
And if they reassess that property today, it might be worth a lot more, a lot of tax. If something like that. Just a little tongue-in-cheek there. 8:52. We're going to take our final break here and talk to Drew Fowler a little bit. Brian, thank you for communicating. Of course, you can jump in, the conversation with Drew. But we're going to focus on Drew and a couple of ordinances. Drew Fowler and Brian Walker, our guests on this morning's Community Voice. Time right now, 8:53. Come back with about 6 minutes. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health and Oak Mountain Academy.
Consider the Mobius strip. Take a strip of paper, twist it, connect the ends. This connection forms a continuous loop. Seamless, infinite. That's how your healthcare should be too. At Tanner Health, the Mobius is our symbol and our promise, representing our continuum of care and our commitment that the services you need will be here for you always. We're not just changing healthcare, we're redefining it. See more at tanner.org.
Oak Mountain Academy is a vibrant community built on innovation, academic excellence, and a 64-year legacy of shaping community leaders. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school at Oak Mountain Academy, inviting you to visit the mountain and experience firsthand the passion, purpose, and personalized education that defines our school. Come see how our mission and vision come to life each day. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us so that you can discover your journey on the mountain, where every path leads to purpose.
854, welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice Program, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. My name's Colin Worthington. Guest Brian Walker, Haralson County Commission Chairman, and Drew Fowler, who is the Haralson County Marshal. Had a lot of topics with Brian Walker in the previous two sections, so if you missed any of that, go back and watch it on the Facebook page, or it'll be in podcast form about 9:03 this morning on our website, newstalk1330.com. Now, Drew, I've seen on a couple of the meetings over the last 2 months and pointed out a couple of ordinances that you wanted to get some direction on, maybe from the attorneys of Haralson County, and because they're trying to address some problems. I think one of them is dilapidated properties, and another one is pop-up of seeing a lot of campers that maybe are staying places they shouldn't necessarily stay.
Right. So when I came to Haralson County, one of my goals was to kind of go through our ordinances and see what needed to be updated. And I'm just going to put it blankly. I knew that we were going to be dated in some things, but I don't think I realized how dated we were until I actually got to look through some of them. I mean, we're talking 20, 25 years or further back. We have a very vague ordinance that was already in place, but it didn't really fully address the current problem. All these dilapidated properties where, you know, people have passed away and moved on. The family's not really taking care of the house. The house has fallen in. You have people squatting, trespassing, moving in, campers and tents, and it's just kind of created not only an eyesore but kind of a public health nuisance too. Kind of work with the health department from time to time, and been out to many of these places with them, and it's almost the same story everywhere we go. There's not really, we're very understanding, right? And we're going to use discretion in these new ordinances. These new ordinances are not in place to put anybody out, to give anybody a hard time, anybody that's kind of fallen upon hard times. We understand that. But you can't live in a 1982 Winnebago on a quarter acre next to an elementary school for 93 years. That's just not what it's designed to be for. It's designed to be for temporary while you're, building a structure, building a house. If you had a house fire, if you have some family up, maybe spending a few months with you because, grandmother's sick and needs a place to stay. And it kind of also addresses, I know it's kind of a camper ordinance, but it also addresses what we call these storage shed living. Doesn't necessarily attack the tiny homes, right? Because there is a difference.
Is there a tiny home ordinance in Haralson County?
So the tiny home ordinance is actually going to be a part of this camper ordinance.
Okay.
It's going to be kind of all-encompassing. So there's going to set some good parameters there. Again, we're not anti, tiny home. I think if you have 100 acres or 10 acres and you want to build a small house, and I think you should be able to do that. So that's not what we're here to do. What we're here to do is to stop people from living in storage sheds, right?
And you suggested it's a public safety issue too, based on maybe some of the element that's squatting or staying in these places.
Right. Unfortunately, 99% of what we run into is not people that are falling upon hard times. It's not, you taking care of your mother-in-law. These are people that are wanted felons. These people are wanted from, wanted fugitives from justice. And most of them aren't even from Haralson County. They're from neighboring Paulding or Polk or Ranburne or Cleburne, Alabama even. And they're over here, and they're essentially just trying to avoid detection, avoid prosecution. And we're talking serious crimes. We're talking aggravated assault charges. We're talking crimes against children. These aren't speeding tickets. And they're using this as a way to kind of circumvent facing justice.
What will these ordinances, what powers will it give the county to do? To clean up the property, to evict people, to remove?
Well, it's a little bit of all, right? So we work hand in hand with magistrate court. Magistrate court's been very helpful with this. We have a new judge over there, Crystal Damiano. She's been great, been fantastic, very pro doing the right thing, very pro public safety. And it's going to give us the ability to evict these squatters, these trespassers. It's also going to give us the ability to, essentially, we're going to clean up these properties. And unfortunately enough, when we clean up these properties, a little bit of the burden will initially fall back to the taxpayer. There's just no way around it. But we will recoup that money. So when we go in and clean one of these properties, we essentially lien the property. We're the number one lien holder of that property, and that lien goes into their property taxes. So eventually the county does get their money back, and we're cleaning these nuisances up. It's no different. I think Coweta has been doing it for a little bit. Paulding has been doing it for a little bit, maybe not to the extent. But we're not even starting on level ground here. We're 10 feet underground trying to dig ourselves out of a hole. So it's been a kind of a long process to get this ordinance passed, just because we want it to be right. We want to do the right thing. We want it to be right. And now we have a couple of other local counties and municipalities that have kind of done that we can take the good and the bad from to see what works for us.
And these properties, do you find those on your own journeys throughout the county? Or are you counting on the community to say, hey, this is something I'm concerned about?
Right. So we start with the community. It's going to be with the community. Now, we do find some. We do have 3 or 4 that are we already have our own that we're working towards. But any community member can definitely feel free to reach out. And I'm pretty good. We're pretty responsive about getting back. Sometimes it may be a day or 2, but we normally are pretty good about getting back and jumping on them as quick as possible.
Well, Drew, it was good to meet you. Good to have you on the program. Brian, good to have you back here.
Good to be here.
Representing Haralson County this morning. Again, if you missed any of the show, it'll be in podcast form on our website, newstalk1330.com, and we'll try and bring you back in the next 5 or 6 months. We could probably give a whole show to Drew. There's plenty of things to talk about. So, again, thank you for watching and listening this morning to the WLBB Community Voice on News Talk 1330.
National headlines and the local stories you care about. WLBB, Carrollton, News Talk 13.